Okay, everybody, welcome back to Legacy Percussion. More drum set ideas inspired by African and Indian concepts. Today, I want to look at a very famous phrase from South Indian or Carnatic drumming, syllables that are tadi ki na tum, or tati ki na tum, or tadin gi na tum. A variety of ways to pronounce it, but I think tadi ki na tum rolls off the tongue very nicely. It's a very famous phrase played on the mridangam, and it expands lots of ideas. But for now, I'm going to use this as an inspiration to build some simple drum set grooves in what I would classify as like a rock fusion context. And it's going to be kind of a permutation study that takes us through various avenues of how to use the language to inform the phrase. So this video will have a couple of parts to it as we get into three main big ideas in the study in 5. But there's so many more that are possible and optional that you can find in, for example, my manual on South Indian rhythms for drum set, if you check out some of the links. So the idea is to learn to speak the phrase tadi ki na tum. So tadi ki na tum, tadi ki na tum, tadi ki na tum. Now that has kind of a 2+3 accenting to it. Tadi ki na tum, tadi ki na tum, tadi ki na tum. But for this particular study, if you speak it continuously, you're good to go. Now, what we're going to do is have that language be in a fast speed, but then play the bell of the cymbal or the cymbal in a half-time feel to that. So it's going to result in a flipping of the phrase. I'm using the Vic Firth root rods once again, so you'll be able to hear my voice coming in and out of the phrase pretty nicely. So if I'm speaking tadi ki na tum, but playing the cymbal on every other syllable, you get this. Tadi ki na tum, 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 tadi ki na tum. It's in a halftime feel, so you can think of the recitation perhaps in quarter notes, like a fast quarter note, and then the cymbal in perhaps like a half note feel. As we build the phrase, excuse me, we're going to put the bass drum on the ta, or the beginning of the spoken phrase. So tadi ki na tum, tadi ki na tum. And with the cymbal we have tadi ki na tum, tadi ki na tum, tadi ki na tum, tadi ki, or 1 2 3 4 5, 1 2 3 4 5, 1 2 3 4 5, 1 2 3 4 5, tadi ki na tum. Now, interesting phenomenon, and it's no surprise, if the cymbal and the bass drum are together in the first bar, on the ta, tadi ki na tum, in the second bar, the bass drum is going to be off of the cymbal. So whatever is on in the first bar is going to be off in the second bar. So it has this sort of mirroring effect. Now, the snare is going to land on the tum of each of the phrases. This is building our model. Tadi ki na tum, 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 tadi ki na tum. Tadi ki na tum. So you get the idea. So I'm going to speak the phrase and then let you hear it. The language actually helps you keep your place because this phrase flipping has a kind of a mystical, mysterious quality about it. So, variations on the snare drum, the bass and the cymbal and the voice will stay the same, is instead of just hitting the tum, we're going to hit na tum. So double hits. Tadi ki na tum, tadi ki na tum, tadi ki na tum, tadi ki na tum. Tadi ki na tum, tadi ki na tum. Get the idea. Now what I'm going to do is take away the tum and just leave the na. So I'm always going to be kind of backing up towards the bass drum using single and then adding a hit and then making it a double and eliminating. So we have tadi ki na tum, tadi ki na tum, tadi ki na tum, tadi ki na tum. Tadi ki na tum, tadi ki na tum, tadi ki. Now next we have tadi ki na tum, tadi ki na tum, tadi ki na tum, tadi ki na tum. Tadi ki na tum, tadi ki na tum. Then take away the na, tadi ki na tum, tadi ki na tum, tadi ki na tum, tadi ki na tum. Tadi ki na tum, tadi ki na tum, tadi ki na tum, tadi ki na tum. Tadi ki na tum, tadi ki na tum, tadi ki na tum, tadi ki na tum. So that was a kind of a quick journey through the possibilities of single and double hits, backing up to reach the bass drum. Other variations, you can do double hits on the bass drum. Tari-kina-tum, on, off, on. So, tari-kina-tum, 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 tari-kina-tum. 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 And we have reached the bass drum once again. So you get the idea. These are all really interesting patterns. Most permutation study, you might end up throwing away about half of them as non-musical or non-productive. But these I find quite useful. Now, what else can we do? We can put the snare on the one. This might have you flipping the phrase in your mind because of how the gravity shifts. That's why we come back to speaking the phrase. A little bit of that. Tari-kina-tum, 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 sorry. Tari-kina-tum, 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 tari-kina-tum. One. Then you do tari-kina-tum, 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 tari-kina-tum. Tari-kina-tum, 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 tari-kina-tum. So you get the idea. You can go through all these and mixing and shuffling them and creating two-bar phrases. That's all built in basically side one sort of a cycle of the phrase. And in notation, I have it notated as 2 bars of 5/4. We're going to do a little bit more. We're going to go to the second level, which is to create a 4-bar phrase. Very simple approach. The voice is going to be in the fast speed. The cymbal is going to be where it was before. But now the bass drum is going to set up a very slow 5. So we have 3 speeds of 5 happening. Voice in the fast, cymbal in the medium, and the foot in the slow. So that would be tari-kina-tum, 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 tari-kina-tum. Then put the snare on the one. Tari-kina-tum, 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 tari-kina-tum. Now what you get? 4/5 with the snare and the bass drum. Here's the 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Tari-kina-tum, 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 tari-kina-tum. So you can combine the 2-bar phrase and the 4-bar phrase to get basically variations on a theme, thinking of a musical context, maybe building a drum set groove. So very simple use of the tari-kina-tum syllables to build awareness inside this, relaxed, open geometry, but that does have its challenges and interesting characteristics that you might discover if you give it a shot. We're going to take a little pause here, and I'm going to come back and show you another interesting treatment of the 5s. But for length, we're going to let this one save, and then we'll come back, and right away we'll give you another idea. So this will be the third approach coming up. Okay, hope you enjoyed these. And of course, send comments, like the videos, share them with your friends, and we'll talk to you in just a moment as we get into more ideas. Take care. All right, we're back again for some more of these cool ideas in 5. Using the phrase tari-kina-tum. And now we're going to look at, in the last moment, at the ending of that last video, you saw me doing a 5/4 or a 4/5 and kind of a 4-bar phrase. And that is an interesting thing to really dive deep into. Now we're going to compress that idea into 1 bar. So it's going to be rather rapid and intense 5/4/3 combination. And we got to break down some elements here to get inside it, and then I'm going to give you some possibilities. So the phrase is going to be in 5 on the cymbal. Tari, ta, di, ki, na, tum, ta, di, ki, na, tum. Very simple. That's going to tell us that we're in 5/4. The snares, so that's basically 5 groups of 4. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 5 E and a takadimi, 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 takadimi. Again, based on 16th notes. We're going to put 4 groups of 5 on the snare drum. So they're going to start together, and then they're going to pull apart. Now, that may seem confusing, but it's really based on the changing of the groupings. 5 groups of 4, 4 groups of 5. What that also does is prove that 4 16th notes will occupy a beat, but if you have a 5th 16th note, it's going to push the next hit forward in time by a 16th note, and so on and so on. So you really get a kind of a clear representation of 16th note theory, which we call 1-E-anda. So it's landing on the 1, 1, and then 2E, 3, and 4, a 5. So 1, E, and a. 1, 2 E, 3, and 4, a 5. So I'm using that awareness to really help me find the groove. I'm often asked, are you feeling it, or are you logically thinking through it? And I got to tell you, it's pretty much all of the above. You break it down in your mind, you think about the logic and the mathematics and the anchor points, and then you accept the truth, and the truth will set you free, and that allows you to get into the feeling of it all. Not we're playing from your hands or your head, but playing from your heart, and that's a big part of how musicians mature. Now, if I add the bass drum on the downbeat, you heard it. So 1. Ta, di, ki, na, tum, cymbal, di, ki, na, tum, ta, ka, di, mi, ta, ka, di, mi, ta. So that's going to be our beginning, 5/4. Now, the key to this phrase is the fact that the bass drum is going to be put in 3. So that changes the rhythmic structuring and the positioning to the various elements. If we're comparing the cymbal and the bass drum now, we're no longer in 5/4, we're in 15/8. It's in triplets. So 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 5 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3, 4 and 5. So this is built on triplet theory. 1, 2, a 3, 4 and 5. 1, 2, a 3, 4 and 5, 1. So 5/3 with the bass drum and the cymbal, 4/3 with the bass drum and the snare. Now the key when you put it all together is not to make the bass drum too syncopated. It has to have this kind of liquidy feel to it. And this is what I want to play and then talk about. Ta, di, ki, na, tum, ta, di, ki, na, tum, ta, ka, di, mi, ta, ka, di, mi, ta, ki, ta, ki, ta, tarikinatum, 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 tarikinatum. So you can almost see this cascade taking place. They're together on the 1, then you have a cascade going down from cymbal to snare to bass. And then you have a moment where they switch, there's a little more activity, and then the cascade reverses. So you get this going down and then going back up again. Listen to it very slowly. So down, back up. Ta, di, ki, na, tum, ta, di. Now, it's also very important that you have this kind of gap between the snare and the bass drum so it doesn't sound like it's in a 16th note. So it's got this bra, jiga, gudika, duga, guda, gra, jiga, gudika, duga, duga. Now that's just the first position, but what I want to do is do something else with it. I want to now put the 5 on the snare and put the 4 on the toms and have it doing this. Same pattern, hands reversed, changing the orchestration. So here's 4 bars on the ride in 5, snare in 4, then 4 bars with the hand switching to the drums. Here we go. So these are rhythm puzzles indeed. Even as you hear it, you might be like, what's going on? There's a little bit of a kind of a conundrum to the puzzle. And I'm a big fan of puzzles, and certainly the rhythmic kind I love greatly. Now, we're actually not done. I know this is a long video, but these are some exciting ideas, hopefully. You can rotate the snare to other positions. So here's the second position. Instead of being 1, 2, E, 3, and 4, a 5, 1, the snare moves forward, so it starts on the E. So 1 E, 2, and 3, a 4, 5. 1 E, 2, and 3. Now, by speaking the 5 in the cymbal, I'll always know my place. So here's the groove without the voice. Ta, di, ki, na, doom. 1, di, ki, na, doom. And yes, there are 3 other positions that the snare can navigate through. So this is a kind of a lot to take in the study in 5. Odd meters are beautiful, but the key is to get into cycles of time and not just feel like you're playing in 5, but you're playing in different speeds of 5. 2-speed, 3-speed, 4-speed, 5-speed, bigger cycles, really expanding your awareness into the world of cycles and not expanding the grid of a groove to get into those cycles. We're going to end here on the study in 5. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly have fun with it. There's 3 other deep studies that I have in 5, but for this series, I'm going to leave it at that and let you go check out my South Indian Rhythms for Drum Set book, which certainly gives you more ideas. Okay, that's been fun. Take care, talk to you soon, and best of luck.